Hello and welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest. I'm Dana Cowley and today my guest is Josephine County Commissioner Simon Hare. Thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure.
Let's hear about your positive election cycle. You're just happy about some
really
of the things that were passed.
Pretty pleased. So this last May, we had a number of things that were on our local election, our May ballot, and the most specific thing that influences the continuity of operations here at the county is the local law enforcement levy that the board referred. It had been my third attempt, but I think over the years trying to solve the challenge of shoring up the loss of timber revenues and secure rural schools funding that was paying for most of the system, the voters endorsed the idea of supporting a 93-cent 5-year local option levy that would pay for our jail operations and our juvenile detention facility.
And so what kind of difference do you think that will make to the folks at the grassroots level?
Well, hopefully it'll translate into really quality law enforcement through Sheriff Dave Daniel and our juvenile detention facility, and have a major impact on our community that has been fairly lax as far as the ability to put people who have done things that were not violent crimes behind bars. And we know that there are things that lead up to violent crimes, and hopefully we can stave that issue in Josephine County for a number of years, and then work towards a long-term sustainable solution that is not tax-based.
Well, and sometimes I've seen in other locations, especially with younger kids, when they're still really forming, developing, growing.
Yes.
That can be life-changing. They can come in contact with some, oh boy, this is pretty serious, and then maybe talk to some right people and get some direction, and that can really be very positive for some.
That's exactly it, steering them in the right direction. So our juvenile shelter and detention facility, built in 1996, was premier in the state as far as putting the shelter and the detention facility together. So you'd have good kids in bad situations in the shelter looking at kids who had made not so good decisions, and that was a really good steering mechanism for a lot of our youth in our community to say, this is what we can do to get on the right track through the sheltering program, to not be on the other side of the glass. And we unfortunately had to close that facility in 2012-13 and due to funding issues, and now we've got a sustainable way to open back up the shelter through revenues generated off of the county's timberlands, and then the detention facility is 5-year funded through the levy.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been real positive. The other positive thing in our community is that the library has been operated in a private, nonprofit way, and just passed a district to give them sustainable funding for a long time, and that's going to be really positive for our community as well.
I can't believe how libraries are changing with so many online and electronic and audio sources.
Absolutely.
They really don't look like libraries that I grew up with.
I think they're meeting spaces, but at the same time, they don't just cater to one sector of the population. I know that my sister, living in the Bay Area with 3 boys, wouldn't consider moving into a community without a vibrant library program for all of the other extracurricular things that I think young families are looking for as ways to engaging. So just a couple of different things that we've done in the last 6 months or so that are going to be really positive for the future of Josephine County and our community.
Well, for your constituents, I know you're invested in the hemp industry.
I'm a personal and investor in an industrial hemp company that has nothing to do with the THC side of things, but the marijuana industry, the cannabis industry in Josephine County is flourishing, although it isn't without some challenges. We've got zoning issues and large commercial operations happening in rural residential neighborhoods, and that's something the board is looking very seriously at and trying to figure out a way to best chart a course forward so that there's adequate assurances for people who have bought residences that they're going to maintain that rural lifestyle and not be negatively impacted by large commercial operations, and at the same time that we don't inhibit a developing industry in Southern Oregon that's really brought quite a bit of an economy to our area.
Well, we only have time for one quick question. What are your top priorities going into the next 6 months? What would you like to do?
Well, I think that marijuana industry is something that we really need to get some stability in regulating, and that's probably the thing that we're going to be looking at most. So it's a really hard challenge that the board is very interested in leaning into, so that'll be something we address in the coming future.
Well, Simon, we thank you for being here,
My
and we
pleasure.
wish you luck with all you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
This is Simon Hare. He's a commissioner in Josephine County. I'm Dana Cowley, and thanks for watching Charter at Local Edition Northwest.